Hey y'all. So at first I was going to do this video earlier, but then my housemate came in and we had some things to talk about. And then now I'm jumping in between commercial breaks of the opening ceremony of the Olympics. And yes, I'm excited for the Olympics, particularly the winter. Well, whether it's winter or summer, I'm always excited for the Olympics. And so, um, and when I saw we were watching the opening ceremonies, the biggest thing, and that JD Vance and Marco Rubio were in there, and I saw the news report that when Marco Rubio and the JD Vance, the Italian officials had to calm the audience down because the United States got booed, particularly because of JD Vance and Marco Rubio. And so that's the thing. That's the thing. Can't be surprised because of how we are seen, or at least our administration is seen around the world. But anyway, that's not the subject of this video. I want to talk about the Charlotte Area Transportation System, better known as CATS, and my experience today with CATS, because earlier I was livid. So I'm downtown, finished up with the gym, started a new workout, testing it out. Um, Went down to Whole Foods to pick up some coffee and sweetener. Only my second time in that Whole Foods, so I'm having to learn my way around. And wanted to get that before my bus would happen. So I come out the gym, and first of all, it's raining. I'm a stickler because I use public transportation and I ride my scooter to the bus stop of always being prepared for the weather. I watch the new news. Queen City News is my news of choice during the noonday. And before I go out the door, at least I know what to expect. Unless I was in the shower or I may have missed the 12:15 weather report, but I saw the 12:45 weather report. I don't think I missed them saying any chance of rain. And then when I look at the radar on my phone, this thing is talking about rain when I was at the gym. And I'm like, what rain? So then I go outside, and sure enough, it is downtown. But it wasn't bad though. So anyway, I go in, I find my coffee, and I'm a stickler for now that I'm older that if it's not what I want, I'm not buying it. Because I drink decaf coffee because of a heart attack I had a few years ago. And I have a stent in my back artery. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. It wasn't a major heart attack or anything like that. The muscle, there was no damage to the heart muscle. And for the most part, my heart is actually better now than it was then, primarily because of all the weight that I've lost. But anyway, so I get my stuff and I hop on my scooter and I'm going down Brevard Street, coming back to the transportation center, and I get there 5 minutes. I have 5 minutes before the bus is supposed to leave. The bus is supposed to leave at 5:10. So I'm standing there, fold up my scooter, got my bag, and got my phone out, ready to pull the app. So again, I got there at 5:05. There's about 20 or so people already there waiting on the bus, and which is typical for the 4:50 bus and the 5:10 bus. And so I am sitting there waiting. So then I'm thinking the bus driver is going to come out at 5:08, 5:09. 5:10 comes, no driver. So then 5:11, 5:12, still no driver. And then me and a couple other people were standing around talking. I said, see, this is why people miss their connecting buses. Because I have one. But the whole reason I bought that scooter is so that I wouldn't be standing out there waiting 20, 25 minutes for my connecting bus. I just hop on my scooter and go from one end of the street all the way to the other end of the street in about 10 minutes and I'm home. So I was getting madder and more annoyed and more annoyed. And then somebody over here was talking to somebody and she was getting annoyed. Well, then the bus driver was rolling up and she was on her phone and everybody was waiting on her. It was 5:15 at this time. But apparently, she was not the driver for that bus. So rather than explode, I called CATS customer service and talked to a guy, and he was saying, so I explained the situation to him, just like I just explained it to you. I got to the transit system. I'm standing in front of the bus. The bus was supposed to leave at 5:10. It is now 5:20, and there is no driver and no bus. So the guy on the phone is telling me, well, our system is showing that the 5:10 bus is already left and it's on its route. And I'm telling him, I said, I understand what your system says. I can see that on the CATS app because the 5:10 bus was on the CATS app, not showing that it was canceled, but showing that it was going to leave on time. And then at 5:10, because the system is assuming that the bus is leaving the transit system, it removes that bus time from the schedule. I know how that works. CATS calls this live viewing of the bus system. This is not live viewing. This is only a live schedule. That's all that is. Live viewing means that you can click on a route where you are and you will be able to see the bus icon running. I learned that when I was living in Kansas City. Kansas City's third-party app had that capability. You could look at the bus when you were out there waiting on the bus, and you could see where the actual bus was on the map and see it coming. That way, you wouldn't have to be worried about where's the bus? Did I miss the bus? You could even gauge how long it would take you to get to the bus stop so that you wouldn't miss the bus. That is actually live bus tracking. Being able to see a time and then you update the time about the lateness or whatever, that's semi-live. That means you're just updating the time. You're not allowing us to see the bus. So the guy on the phone, first he was telling me that there was a possibility that they didn't have a driver for that slot. So then he put me on hold, and then he came back, and then he said, well, it looks like what happened was, I don't know why that bus is sitting there, but we're showing that the 5:10 bus did leave. And I said, dude, I've got multiple people standing around me that were here long before I got to the Bay M for the bus. And that was at 5:05. People standing around me were nodding their heads. One woman even said, I've been here since 5 o'clock, meaning that she had been there 10 minutes waiting on the bus to leave. I'd only been there for 5 minutes ahead of when the bus was supposed to leave. Well, then a lady next to me, she was also calling customer service, and she got somebody else. So because I didn't back down, I was telling the guy, because then he started talking about, oh, I see the 450 bus, which was the prior bus, was late, and then it left, and that's probably why the system took that. How would the system not know that that was the 450? Because based on CATS live bus tracking, it would have updated showing that the 450 bus, meaning it was supposed to leave the transit hub at 450, didn't get to the hub at 450. It was late. It wouldn't have been on the marquee. They don't update that. Half the time when the system gets shut down, it takes them days to get it back up because it'll have the wrong day and the wrong time on it. With all these millions of dollars, like city council spent whatever obscene amount of money to pay a PR firm to clean up their image, when some of that money could have been to update the system in the transit system. And the new governing board, this is what you're in for. This is what you're in for. So he took down my information, read it, parroted it back to me, and I said, that's correct. And he was going to send it over to a supervisor. The woman next to me, she was also on the phone, telling him what bus number it was, just like I was telling them the same story. Then she hung up because she was saying she wanted to speak to a manager. Well, about 3 minutes later, it's 5:25 at this time, and another bus is supposed to, the 5:30 bus should be on Trade Street coming into the transit center within 5 minutes, meaning that bay was going to be double booked. So then a supervisor comes out. He says that the driver who should have come out to this bus picked up the wrong bus. And so he opened the bus so that we could get on the bus and at least some of us, most of us, to sit down. But by now, some of the people who were there were actually there for the 5:30 bus. So now this bus now is overfilled. You got people sitting, you got people standing up. I got my scooter. I was actually about to get up. In fact, I asked two people if they wanted to sit because I have my scooter on the floor in front of me and two bags with me, my backpack and my grocery bag from Whole Foods sitting in the seat next to me. And I was gladly going to give it up so the two people could sit down because I don't like it, but I can stand up on the bus for 20 minutes while I get to my next stop. But they said no. So then finally, a person showed up who was willing to drive this bus. Now, some of us were talking, and I said, y'all can't be mad at him. This wasn't even his route. Y'all can't be mad at him. Be mad at CATS. Be mad at the people who are running CATS. Be mad at the city because it's the city's jurisdiction. I mean, you might feel a certain kind of way about the new governing board, the Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, the MATA, I think. I need to look it up. I need to make sure that I'm giving the right acronym because one of my friends is on that governing board. So anyway, the bus gets going and I look at the CATS app and I've already missed my connecting bus. And I'm going to get there too early for the other bus to wait on the other bus because like I said, from the time I get off the bus, I can get to my house in 10 minutes on my scooter. And if I look at the time and see that I can get home faster, I'm not standing there waiting on a bus. So that's what I wound up doing. But I was texting a friend of mine and I was talking to another person on the bus. It's like, if it were me and I did some shit like this, there would be no question about me being fired. I mean, you're given a bus. All the buses have bus numbers. All the buses that you're assigned to have locations. This bus was not in the hub, not in the overnight parking area. This was a working bus in the transit center. Why would you go to the other place to pick up a bus when clearly the bus that you were assigned to was in the transit center? I mean, it's not like people are just standing around with no place to go. We had two people there who need to get to daycare to pick up their kids. We're not even going to question why they don't have a car. Maybe they couldn't afford a car. That's not the subject of this video. Then I have some other people over here trying to get to work. Other people had gotten off work and were just simply trying to get home. And I always say this, my best friend and I talk about this all the time. If you don't like your job, please leave the job. Go find another one. Go find another one so that somebody else can have that job. And then there's a chance that they will like their job and they will work their ass off in that job. But I always say this, I don't care if you don't like your job. Because the company is paying you to do the job and do it to the best of your ability until such time as you are moving on from that job. Because you're not just working for yourself and you're just not driving a bus just so you can get a check. Because if you are, then that's your business. But you need to understand there are people on these buses. I can assure you, had this happened on the Blue Line, the light rail, I'm not even going to include the Gold Line in this because of the debacle that happened during the week with the ice and snow. Bent over backwards to get the Blue Line up and running. But people who ride the Gold Line, so sorry, they didn't put out any buses to take the place of the Gold Line when they were doing maintenance on it before the ice and snow came. No, they didn't do that for the Gold Line. And then the bus that I got on, it At least the bus was running, I will say this. To pull the cord to alert that a stop has been requested, so that somebody, the person pulling the cord, there's usually a ding, and then the voice comes on and says, stop requested. I've been on multiple buses where this doesn't work, but I learned that it's a chew alert system. So there's an alert that the passenger sees, but up in the bus driver area, there's a system up there that lets them know that they got the alert that they need to stop at the next stop. So, and that was, sometimes it's usually only on one side of the bus or one portion of the bus. This was a hybrid bus, meaning it was electric and gas. It was a hybrid, and it wasn't working. I've been on more buses that have something wrong with them than on buses where everything is running right. Now, there are things that are out of their control. I get that. I do. I get that. Just like I had to remind myself when I was on the phone, the guy that I was talking to was in a call center. He was in a call center, and he didn't know what was going on. He couldn't even see what was going on, only what is in front of him, which is the bus system. A different system that he could see than I could see, but very similar to the CATS app. So here's my advice for the new governing body and the city of Charlotte. You're already under the spotlight and under the microscope because of the spotlit 2 incidents that happened on the Blue Line. Y'all didn't even talk about the weekend before the first murder on the Blue Line, that shots were fired in the transit center. 4 people were shot and 2 of them died. So you're not talking about them. So don't talk to me about safety on the transit center, on the transit system. Just go ahead and call it what it is. I've done other videos where I talk about, everybody knows about the tale of 2 Americas. There's the 1% and the 99%, which includes the rest of us. Well, how about this? A tale of 2 transit centers. Because I can tell you, the 28 members of the new governing body, only one of them uses the bus system daily. Only one. Out of those 28 people, only one. And then there are some who ride the Blue Line. Occasionally. And they're just now getting up and running. So there's really nothing that they can do. But I'm looking at city council. City council where I don't even have representation because I live in an unincorporated part of Charlotte, and they're not pressed to incorporate my neighborhood so that I can have representation in the city of Charlotte. And my county commissioner, Vilma Leaks, all I'm going to do is say her name, and that I'm just going to put it out there. Vote for her opposition because it's time for her to go. Her time is over. It is time for her to go. She is not doing anything to help us move forward. And so that was my bus drama for today. CATS has to do better. They have to. Or else I'm just, now that I'm back in school and I have to go to campus one day a week, a couple of times a week actually, I just can't, I won't allow myself to be late or to miss class or anything like that because of transportation issues. So there may have to be a change in that. But CATS has got to do better. Even last night when they were having the meeting with North Carolina Department of Transportation and Malcolm Graham and some other city council members talking about the toll lanes for 77. And I'm in agreement with the people in the audience. These toll lanes are not going to do anything to alleviate traffic. They're not. City Council has already dropped the ball on the northern toll lanes, None of that money even stays in Charlotte. All of that money goes to a company, to a Spanish company from the country of Spain. All that money goes to Spain. If you don't believe me, no, you just look it up. Just look it up, and you'll see all that. And these are going to be elevated toll lanes, which means they're going to be on top, raised. The regular lanes are down here, and the toll lanes are going to be up here. Can you imagine the mess that part of South Charlotte and traffic is going to be during construction? During construction, 160,000 vehicles daily go back and forth on that part of I-77. And they have put it off and put it off and put it off and put it off. I will say this, the one plan would have just wiped out historically black neighborhoods, and that would have been filed under gentrification. But in the election year, we can't just hold the Republicans' feet to the fire. We have to hold all their feet to the fire. Sorry, there is a siren going off in the background. Hold them all. And again, I will say what I heard at a chamber meeting last year when we were talking about the elections. Vote for people who show up for you. And if there's somebody who's in office who doesn't show up for you, don't vote for them again, because you're not going to get any change out of them. If they don't show up for you now, what makes you think they're going to show up for you in the future? Hold them accountable. Hold them accountable. And I guess I'll see you on the next video, whether it's a Black History Moment video, a video about my type 2 diabetes journey, my weight loss journey, my gym journey, or yet another bus drama journey. But whatever it is, I'll bring it to you, and it'll be the absolute truth. Take care, and I'll see you on the next video.